It's between the mountains and the sea, in the heart of aviation country in the Pacific Northwest. Imagine 2,000 square miles of farmlands, rivers, historic cities, and driftwood coastlines, and few people even know about it. I want to share with you some of my hidden gems of what they call Seattle NorthCountry. Just north of Seattle is Snohomish County, 2,000 square miles stretching between the Cascade Mountains and the Salish Sea. The county is named for the indigenous Snohomish people, who originally called this area home, but it's also known as Seattle NorthCountry. And while it shares a name with a major metropolis, the NorthCountry feels like another world. And it starts appropriately with how you get here, with what some people might say is Seattle's secret airport, on the southwestern edge of Everett, the county seat. Built in 1936, Payne Field was meant to be the main airport for Seattle, until it was commandeered for military use during World War II. And then, it later became the assembly center for Boeing 747s, before finally returning to commercial passenger travel in 2019.
This airport is important because it brings people directly into Seattle NorthCountry. You're 12 miles from the Seattle border, but yet you feel like you're in a really idyllic country setting. So much to do here. People, once they get here and they realize it, they come back year after year.
Brett Smith founded the company that manages passenger travel out of Payne Field.
Now, this terminal is still pretty much of a secret, isn't it?
It really is. And everybody's so used to going to SeaTac, but they're starting to understand the kind of service that we give here.
I mean, it doesn't really look like a terminal.
That's the whole point. We wanted it to be relaxing, calm, cool, and collective.
After you leave the terminal, find this building. It might look just like another hangar, but inside, it's a chance to be transported back in time.
The planes and tanks here are restored to immaculate original condition. Every nut, every bolt, every rivet, every touch of paint is just as it would have been in World War II.
Adrian Hunt is the executive director of the Flying Heritage and Combat Armor Museum. And if he sounds proud of what they do here, that's because he is.
There is no collection like this on the planet. Another museum might have one plane of our quality. Nobody has a set of planes of this quality anywhere.
The cool thing about this museum is you get to get up close and personal with all the equipment. I'm inside a Mitchell B-25, similar to the one that Jimmy Doolittle flew on his infamous raid on Tokyo back in 1942. But this is only one of 26 or 27 different planes and equipment that range from World War II all the way through to Gulf War I.
The museum has items from every major power in World War II, including a V-2 rocket from Germany, the devastating weapon that was also the first man-made object to travel to outer space. It's a big enough task to make everything look brand new, but this museum goes one step further.
One of the most special things is that everything works. The planes fly, the tanks drive and fire.
So you could hop into the cockpit and just take it off.
You could.
It's one thing to be told that these vehicles are operational, but if you ask, you might just get to find out for yourself. For those of you who remember presidential campaigns, well, this is my Dukakis moment. Lucky for me, I'm not running for anything.
Hard left, here we go. All right.
As fun as this is, the museum does offer something more than just its like new vehicles and planes.
I think visitors are often pleasantly surprised when they come here. They expect us to see planes, but we're trying to tell a much broader story. We have exhibits on the causes of war, of women in World War II. We're trying to present the broader context of conflict.
And in my case, please stay out of my way. I'm looking for the broader context of tank driving lessons. Now, you can't spend your entire time at the airport. Why would you? So east of Everett is the city of Snohomish. It's a quaint town of 10,000 residents, and along its first street, it's easy to find charming little shops. But the real hidden gem here is the history, and the best way to learn that is to ask a local.
Snohomish is one of the first cities in Snohomish County. When it was founded, Everett didn't exist yet, so Snohomish was the biggest community in this area. And people thought it would be the next Seattle. They thought it would be bigger than Seattle.
Taylor Russell is a historian, but even better, she's a storyteller.
Snohomish was founded in 1859. When white settlers arrived, they found massive trees, some as tall as the Space Needle. Logging certainly built Snohomish and Snohomish County at large.
Lumber allowed this area to prosper, but with some unintended consequences.
The millwork mainly attracted young single men, and they made lots of money. And the only place to spend their money was here on First Street, in saloons and brothels and pool halls. A visiting Catholic priest described Snohomish as a cesspool of vice.
The cesspool, long gone, but the stories and historical oddities remain. Down the road is the Marks Building, which had the first flush toilet in town. There's the Burns Building, which ironically, when a major fire was sweeping down the street in 1911, it was the Burns Building that stopped the fire spread because of its brick construction. And of course, every historical area has its ghost stories.
The Oxford Saloon is considered one of the most haunted places in our state. According to legend, there was a brothel upstairs run by a Madam Kathleen, and she rented rooms to lonely loggers. And according to legend, she was beheaded in her bathtub by an angry ex-lover. So the bathtub is still up there, as is her dress, and folks say they see her ghostly figures passing in front of the windows.
The diversion of the railroad to Tacoma squashed Snohomish's dreams of becoming the next Seattle. But it still has a lot to offer for those who learn and retell its stories.
Snohomish is super important to me because I grew up here. Many folks in this community leave and come back again. It's a really wonderful small town home.
Now, you may think an art museum is the very opposite of a hidden gem, and oftentimes that's the case. But here's what I do. Skip the big museums and instead find the smaller galleries. That's where you find the artists trying to capture the spirit of the local scene.
I think that the Seattle area has always been a little on the cutting edge, and we just felt like this is the perfect spot to put art that has had kind of a checkered past.
John Carswell is the founder of the Apex Art and Culture Center in Everett, where they celebrate a type of art that's been hiding in plain sight.
Apex actually stands for Aerosol Paint Expressionism. What drew me to this type of art is, number one, this is, in its origin, uniquely American. This started in New York. There's vandalism, and that's not what I collect. But there is a true art form here, and we've been steadily destroying it ever since its beginnings. When people come here, I'm hoping what they'll take away is an appreciation for an art form that they most likely didn't understand.
As much as graffiti art is tied to its urban setting, 7 miles north in Tulalip, one artist uses natural materials to tell nature's story.
I've been carving since I was 5 years old. I was at my grandfather's house every morning before school, and I learned how to carve. I learned my culture, my history, my family. Everything started there.
James Madison creates sculptures based off of the stories that his grandfather and father told him about their culture.
My tribe is Tulalip. Something that I take on personally to keep my culture alive is very important to me, and the way that I do it is with my artwork.
His work is on display at the Hibald Cultural Center, where the beliefs and values of the Tulalip tribe are preserved and then shared.
This is my piece here, Kaya, means grandmother in my language. This is my great-grandmother, and this is my grandpa down here, showing his mammoth, his power. So he's half human, half bear.
And how old is this wood?
998 years old.
But who's counting?
I think it's important for people to come to this area to see the richness of my people's culture, show that we're still alive, we're not petrified, we're not lost in an old history book, we're still practicing our culture today.
It's a chance to witness and maybe even help to unleash the spirit of some of the hidden gems of Seattle NorthCountry.